Great. So we are live and we're going to get started. So excited to be here and with Rose. So today, when we sent out the announcement for this live, I said that we have some great news to share with you. And I'm so happy to tell you that next week we are going to launch our live show every second and fourth Tuesday of the month. It's called In Great Company. And as you probably know by now, I'm the founder of Fabric. I love all things numbers, finance, but also I'm so big on building community, on leveraging technology for our businesses. And I think my newest passion is marketing. And it's something that I had been told a couple of years ago, but working with Rose from Nectar Digital Group as our partner in the marketing area, whom I am so happy to have here today. I have really learned to appreciate all the work and all the thoughts that go behind producing a good marketing strategy. So over the last few months, we have been focusing on our branding, our marketing, and really took a step back to rethink how we were approaching our potential leads, our customers, communicating with our community. And COVID, luckily for us, we were all set in the finance area because, of course, we are an accounting practice, right? But because we all set on the finance side, we wanted to find another focus area to spend the next few months in. So great, I said, what do I focus on? Operations, marketing, sales, and definitely decided marketing is the way to go. And so we engaged Rose and her team at Nectar Digital Group to help us with that. And throughout the work that we have done over the last several months, we have done a ton of work, beautiful work. I get compliments from you guys all the time. So thank you, Rose, for that. And each one of the steps that we have taken lead to a new something that we create, something new that we want to experiment. And what has come up in the last few months has been this live show, which we're going to launch on Tuesday in Great Company. And In Great Company is going to be a platform where we're going to have a series of interviews with thought leaders from the business community. We're going to talk about business finances, of course. I can't skip that one. Technology, which is something I really love and I encourage everyone to embrace and incorporate in their operations and the way they manage their business. And then building community. I cannot leave that outside. So we're going to talk about all these topics and how they help us as business owners to grow our businesses, but also at the personal level. So super excited to share with you how we came about rebranding Fabric, how Rose and her team were able to help us, and have her share some tips that you can either implement or use as you start engaging with someone who is going to take your branding to the next level. So Rose, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure. I always enjoy chatting with you.
Yes, we can talk for hours as you.
For hours.
But this is going to be only a few minutes, I hope. We have to keep each other in check, right?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about you and your company. I know everything about you, but our audience might not. So I want them to get to know Rose and the team.
Yeah, sure. So as Ramona said, my name is Rose Desauguste. I am the founder and CEO of Nectar Digital Group. And what we do is we help service businesses rebrand and get to the next stage of their growth. And that involves, obviously, like I mentioned, the rebranding, growth strategy, and marketing implementation. So that's what we do for businesses. And we typically work with businesses who have been around for a few years. So similar to Ramona and Fabric, when we first started talking about rebranding, she had been in business for about 5 years or so and was looking to grow and scale her business and made sure it wanted to make sure that her brand reflected the success that she had in business and continue growing that success. So that's what I help businesses do.
That's so awesome. And I know that firsthand. We have been working together for a while now. And every day you come up with something new that actually impresses me or surprises me. And I'm a big thinker and a big planner. So I'm always amazed at how much how strategic and ahead of the game you and your team are. Um, so I had it, with you, we have worked together and we collaborate and we brainstorm and I give you a crazy idea, as you know, and you have to bring it down a little bit and then you come up with 5 ideas and then you're like, what did I do to myself, right? What are some ways that I guess business owners can collaborate with their marketing advisors or partners to make sure that their brand, their values, their mission are made part of the strategy? And I know that it's expected of the marketing expert to know how to do this, but I find that it has to come from us first, and we have to be able to express what we want. So what kind of advice can you share with the
Yeah,
audience?
you're exactly right. In order to be effective at branding and marketing, it has to come from the heart of the business owner. And you have to be crystal clear on what it is that you're creating, who you're creating it for, and the mission, the reason you're creating it, the why, right? The big why, everyone talks about that. And that's at the heart of any good branding and marketing strategy. With today's world, with everything being so saturated, every market is pretty much saturated. There's already a solution for everything. There are a million accounting firms, there are a million branding agencies. So what is it that's going to make you different? And it is the heart of who you are. It is the heart of what you're trying to bring to the world. So it absolutely comes down to the owner and their mission and why they're doing it. And so the job of any good brand strategies or any marketer is, if the owner is not quite sure how to communicate that, but their job is to understand what the business owner is trying to do and then implement and create a way so that the world can get to know what the business owner is trying to do.
That's exactly what I already know this. We have talked many, many times, but it's before I engage you to work with us, there are a lot that I didn't know. And when someone asked me what was my why, I was like, I have so many whys. I do what I do for this reason and that reason and that reason. And then they would challenge me, especially business coaches. No, but there is a why deeper than that. So it's important that you incorporate that in the branding. You always talk about, and maybe you don't even notice how often you do this, but I have been listening. You always talk about being authentic, and you actually have a post recently on this authenticity. And before I met you, I thought that was just a given. You have to be genuine and authentic, but it's easy to see people losing that in business, right? How I know you say it and you really live it. Tell us why you think that is so key to the brand.
That's a great question. And first of all, I want to say that I understand why it's easy to lose the authenticity, but because again, there's so much saturation out there, and there are so many strategies that people tell you need to do in order to do marketing right, to get customers, and to be effective, basically to showcase what you have to bring to the world out there. And so, in doing all of that and all of those strategies, it's definitely possible, and it's very easy to lose your authenticity in that. And obviously, it's the only person who can be you is you. And especially now, the biggest trend in marketing and branding, what people really resonate with is authenticity. Because again, with everything being so oversaturated, that's the only thing that in addition to your experience, that's the only thing that they can really hold on to, because they want to be able to understand who you are. Your Once they go to your website, which is like the first face that they will see on your business, they need to understand fully who you are, what you stand for, what you represent, in addition to what you have to offer to them, and your expertise, your proven expertise. They need to understand who you are. Also, when they go to your social media profiles, they need to have the same face that they saw on your website. And I always explain it like this. It's like Imagine you have a really good friend, right? You have a really good friend. You really understand that friend's personality. You know who they are. And when they say something, you're like, oh yeah, this of course you would say that. That's what you usually say, and that's your personality. And I understand how you think and how you see the world. Um, so if they came to you one day and started talking very differently than they normally do, you know that there's something wrong, and it kind of confuses you a little bit. And now, because they're a friend, because you've known them for such a long time, when they're acting out of character, you try to dig deeper and try to understand what the issue is and what's happening. But if it's someone that you don't know, that you've never met before, you're meeting for the first time, if they're telling you one thing, but then you notice inconsistencies, you're not going to want to keep talking to them. And it's the same exact thing for marketing and branding. So you have to first know your why, talk about your why effectively, very plainly and clearly so that everyone can understand who you are. That's the number one job in branding and marketing. And once you do that, you want to make sure that you're showing that same personality on all digital platforms, email, social media, website, anything that you have out there.
I love that. And I like one thing that I like that you do is you help us incorporate our personalities and our lifestyles outside of work into our brand. And initially I was like, how am I going to do that? I like dancing. I laugh all the time. I make jokes. So how am I going to do that? And you have made sure that that is in there in a way that helps the brand, not hurts it, right? So how do you make that happen as you work with your clients?
That's another great question. The balance there is, in addition to showcasing all of that, we can be fun and exciting and joyful, as long as you balance that with thought leadership, right? You have to also, on the same breath, show that you have the experience, you have the authority, and you have all of the necessary skills to solve your prospective customers' problems. And so authenticity and thought leadership, they are the foundation for everything that I do for my clients. So first show the authenticity, but also build thought leadership. And when you have that balance, it really, like, you're unstoppable at that point, because your customers not only will get to know and love you, but they will also trust that you have what it takes to achieve the transformation that they're looking to achieve.
And you also know, I love that. And I think that if I had to be 100% something that I'm not, just to pretend, not to pretend, to show an image that doesn't incorporate my, what I do outside of work, it would be really an unhappy place to be at. So we, talking about that, being happy with what you do, I think that just like in the marketing space, working with people that align with this, with your values, with your style, doing things that you really enjoy doing, not taking just any work, that made me think of that. But one of the things that also I find interesting, and I did as we started working together, was the fact that it was important to align your social media brand with your personal image, right? And you and I know you could be a stylist, if you a personal stylist. You have helped me during my photo shoots pick out clothes. But how important is it to really, outside of those pictures, right? Someone sees me in an event, even on the streets by my house. How important is it to make sure that the personal image also aligns with your what is on social media and the website?
Yeah, it's very, very important. And I think for many types of businesses, service businesses, people are not just buying your company, they're buying into you as a person. So it's so important. So the image and your relationships with those people is everything. And also when you think about like tech startups, people are not going to invest in just your idea. They're also investing in you as the founder, your image and your relationship with them. And so I know that a lot of business owners, including myself, we started our businesses for specific purposes, right? Because we wanted to create impact. We wanted to make a living doing our passion. We wanted very many things for ourselves and for other people, but also it starts with ourselves. So I always implore the people that I work with, my clients, to also think about what their personal goals are and not sacrificing their personal goals in an effort to try to achieve their business goals, they should be working together cohesively. And
Mhm.
that goes back to the thought leadership that I was talking about before, because once you yourself build thought leadership as a business owner, you're not only helping your business, you're also helping yourself. You can achieve your highest potential by doing that. So if you've always wanted to, I don't know, start a show, you can start a show because you've built the thought leadership. If you've always wanted to, I don't know, like whatever made you happy, whatever your personal goals are, if you've always wanted to do that, by focusing on both simultaneously, you're able to achieve both goals rather than sacrificing one or the other.
I always wanted to be able to speak in public. I thought I would never be able to do that. Like I used to be that person that would actually pay not to speak in public. Well, I could have gotten paid to speak in public. So I know how important it is to build thought leadership and your image and what you have on social media and the websites in building that. Building up to being able to speak at a large conference or to be asked to speak at a workshop. It's incredible how many times, well, that's probably the norm, but people do look you up, right? And they do comment on the presence that you have out there. And it makes such a difference in their decision making process. So it's important, very important, to take care of our brand at the personal level and the business level. And it's something that I try to teach my kids, but they won't learn it until they're 35, hopefully. Great. So one of the things that I wanted to, you may have touched on this, I think, at the beginning, but one of the things I wanted you to share with us is how have you seen marketing be change from what it was pre-pandemic to what it is today and where it's going. I mean, I'm very impressed with all the work that you do, and you make it seem so easy. I have no idea what it was before I started doing this, but please tell us about some of the trends, the changes, and what you see coming up in the near future.
Yeah, it's definitely not easy. It's a lot of work. Yeah, but before pandemic, I think before pandemic, many people had the idea that they could, like sustain their business and, continue to do their thing without putting much effort into the digital world. But the world has completely shifted. I mean, things were digital before, and I was also always preaching for technology and using the digital world to maximize your business in every different way. But since the pandemic, it has become a non-negotiable. Like you absolutely have to care for your digital presence. You absolutely have to be using digital tools and technology to optimize the different areas of your business. So marketing now is heavily focused on using digital tools in order to run any sort of campaign. And another thing that I would say is I was also like using this analogy that there are always three doors to any room of success or just anything in general. So the first door is this. Actually, I got this from a book called The Third Door by Alex Banayan. And I love using this analogy, and I absolutely love the book. But the concept is like this: the first door to the room to success or the club or whatever you're trying to get to is where 99% of people line up waiting to get in. And that's what most marketing advice and most marketing strategies tell you. They tell you to kind of do the same things over and over, and you just follow what the marketing gurus tell you to do, and then you just kind of do the same thing that everybody else does. So obviously, if 99% of people are waiting to get through the same door, your chances of actually standing out are very little, slim to none. The second door to any room of success is where you are born into a great network, you're born into massive wealth. Maybe your parents were billionaires and they have the connections to get you to your goals. So that second door is for the billionaires and the people who are already well connected. The third door is for the people who think differently. So there's always a third door to any room to success or the club that you're trying to get into. So the third door is where you have to forget about what the 99% are doing. And obviously you can't use the second door. So you have to find inventive ways to get in. And that's how I look at marketing and branding as well. It requires a lot of creativity, although it's strategic work, but it requires a lot of creativity and thinking outside of the box and try to find things that are true to you that most people are not doing. So, for example, it could be again like a show. Let's do something fun and creative, and let's talk about. I know that you enjoy talking with people. How about we do more of that? So that's the third door analogy that I like to give. And one of the things that I do with marketing, I work in 2 week cycles whenever I'm doing any marketing campaign or branding in general, just anything in general that I'm doing. I work in 2 week cycles. And after the 2 week cycle, I'm continually always looking at the results, improving, seeing what's not working, what's working. I scale up on, and what's not working, I either adjust or scale down on, or figure out how to make it work. But that's basically the key, I think, to marketing success and to standing out in a saturated market and to continue enjoying and being yourself through the process of entrepreneurship, um, for 2022 or the future. I mean, I think that's the only way to really sustain it.
Yes, and it's I don't know if you know this, but we met over 2 years ago, before we even dreamt of having everything cloud based and virtual and digital. And I remember you and I met at my office, and I was just so impressed with how techy you were. I don't have another word for it, but you were so focused on digitizing everything, digitizing marketing, operations, and there was nothing that I mentioned I wanted to do that you wouldn't have. You know, you mentioned you're not an operations person, you're a marketing person, but you know, and you mentioned the 2 week cycle that you implement, which has some technology component there, but from a digital side point of view how things should work, what technology we should be using. And I think that was one of the things that really made me choose you as our marketing partner, and the company, of course. But I always enjoy those conversations with you, and I think that one of the things I appreciate a lot is the fact that you are, like I said at the beginning, is keeping ahead of the curve, right? So it's not just living in the moment, what is going to happen in a few months that is going to impact how we do marketing today. So staying on top of that. I think we are coming to an end, and I have really enjoyed this conversation. I love having you. You're going to be our guest in the show soon, where we're gonna have a more formal, if this wasn't formal enough, right? We're gonna have more conversations about marketing and social media and branding, and really show our audience how they can improve what their businesses are and where they can take it, and whether they can do this on their own or not. I want you to share some tips in that show on how the smaller businesses can really implement some marketing strategies with a low budget, but also once we're ready to move forward with something bigger, how we make that transition. We'll talk more about that in a few weeks. Thank you so much, Rose, for being here. And if you want to share one last tip with the audience, please go ahead and do so.
Thank you so much for having me. And, to everyone, I don't know what else, but just continue to be yourself. And don't forget, technology is the key. Technology is already the now and the future. So make sure you prioritize in that and invest in that.
Thank you, Rose. Nice having you. And we'll be talking soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome.